Pathfinders podcast, where we guide professionals through career transition, content creation, and building income streams online. I'm Antonio, and joined in studio by my fellow co-host, Danny. How's it going, Danny?
It's going good. Super happy. I was telling you earlier today that I was like nervous yesterday, meeting for the first time in real life. Super excited to be here, man. Super excited. We've been hanging out online for the better part of a year and a half, coming up on 2 years. So hanging out in person, being in an actual studio, what great experience, right?
Well, we're coming live from LA. Well, not live, but we're coming from a studio found on Pier Space here in downtown LA. We are in a studio that's been frequented by celebrities and famous people such as Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, some NBA players, and so this is a fabulous studio. And honestly, even for an experienced content creator, sometimes when you sit in a studio with the light, the camera, the action, it gets a little bit, a little bit of nervous, right? But it's great to finally see you in person, Danny. As you mentioned, we've known each other for a better part of a year and a half. I'm actually back visiting family for the holidays in Denver, Colorado. I'd like to fly out to LA to meet you in person. So what do we have in store for the audience today?
We're about to go into 2026. I mean, it's basically here. I wanted to talk about alignment, goals, what's been working, what hasn't been working, and what people out there can expect in 2026 if they want to make that transition, if they want to have multiple income streams, if they want to start creating more content online. I think that's really what the podcast is all about. That's really what we've been doing. You for several years, me for almost 2 years now. Yeah.
Yes, so I'd like to talk to you, Danny, about kind of where you're at. We met a year and a half ago doing one of the NAS challenges, I think doing viral content.
It was how to gain 10,000 followers.
How to gain 10,000 followers in 30 days or something like that.
Something like that,
right?
yeah.
And so since then, we did multiple challenges.
Yeah.
I went on to join NAS Company. But looking back in hindsight, I can see how those were like the building blocks to really what this podcast is all about, right? As far as building income streams online, helping career transitioners, and things of that nature. So I'd like to kind of understand what you've been up to the past few months, and let's see where it takes us.
I think that the last few months, this whole deal, transitioning from being 9 to 5 kind of corporate work into something more flexible has had its ebbs and flows, right? So I have multiple income streams, some online, some not. And I think that not only for me, but I think for a lot of the people that I talk to, especially people that want to grow their presence online, consistency is one of the biggest things that they struggle with. And that's what I struggle with as well. It's super easy for me to get ideas and be like, I need to get into the studio, right? I need to get in front of the camera. These are the types of things that I want to do in order to create content. But then life happens, right? Something pops up that my daughter needs for school, so I got to run. A client calls last minute. Different things like that take up time and really take up space in my mind that I can't dedicate to something else. And you know what? That's also an excuse. There's still that fear of people not liking me or being ridiculous online or saying something that is not going to resonate. There's still that fear that people are going to judge me. There's still fear that, hey, people know me as somebody in business and real estate and these other things. And now maybe they'll think that I'm pretending to be somebody else now, right? I don't want to be an influencer or, dancing on TikTok or, whatever that is, right? But I think that that's what people have in their mind. And there's still that fear.
Well, I would push back. And I think that ultimately you will be pleasantly surprised by the more content you put out for your audience. You're going to resonate with certain people, and they're ultimately going to get in contact with you. That's at least the experience I've had recently on LinkedIn. Starting in October, I did a month-long video challenge with Kai from the NAS Academy with his own NAS community called Vlogtober, and we were expected to do a daily video Monday through Friday. And sort of by happen chance, I chose LinkedIn as a topic. And so my early videos were just about anything LinkedIn related, best time to post, or people that had a surprisingly good LinkedIn profile when you wouldn't expect them because they were a professional athlete or what have you. But as I built up a little mini portfolio of videos, ultimately that led to me getting a few inbound requests for service consultations to understand how could I help them build their business. And these are people that were part of my audience that I didn't even know personally, I had never communicated with.
Like lurkers in the background?
The lurkers. The lurkers are actually your friends because in many instances, they don't want to be recognized online. They'll follow you, but they may not send you a connection request. They may not like your content. They may not comment on your content, and they may not share your content, but they're in your DMs. And that's really where you want them to be because that's where everything sort of dissipates. There's no more show. There's no more public persona. It's really about getting into conversations and in communications. And that's actually one of the things I want to talk to you today is this notion of prospecting, right? And one of your side hustles, I know you drive Uber, and one of the things that you said months ago is about how you get into communication, how you get into conversation with some of your passengers, some of the people taking rides with you. So maybe you can share a little bit with the audience how that's transpired, how it plays out in the field, and so forth. Because I think there's some real lessons learned there about getting into conversation with people, especially in today's modern society where we all live online, right? Everybody's on their phone 24/7. So why don't you break it down, what it means to be an Uber driver and how you're able to kind of spin some of those conversations into business opportunities?
Yeah, you know, before I start like getting into the details of it, one thing that I do want to say is that consistency, right? I notice when I am consistent with somebody or that I follow this process that I get results, right? But sometimes like I let the foot off the gas, the results slow down. So I want to reach out to people listening to us and see what your experience is with that. Because with Uber, so there's everybody asks basically the same questions. How long you've been driving, any crazy stories, what's your longest ride. But once the conversation starts going, people ask me, is this what you do full time? Is this your side gig, your side hustle? What do you do for a living? Right? And oftentimes I talk to them about content creation. I talk to them about the podcast. I talk to them about, you know, helping different companies and founders grow their audience online, grow their brand online, right? And I give them just enough. And then I ask them, so what do you do? Mm-hmm. And then I kind of get information from them, right? It's a whole process that I have that opens up potential conversations, maybe potential clients. And once we get the conversation going, I'll bring it back to, so what's your presence online like? What is your marketing strategy? What are you doing to grow your business, to grow your brand, to grow your name as a person? Have you ever thought about doing this and that? And from there, the conversation develops, right? And I get some great conversations going. I meet a lot of people. But again, it's consistency, right? It's consistency. I get busy with actual clients that I land, real estate or construction, and I focus on that. And then I feel like my pipe goes dry, and then I'm like, I got to get back to it. I got to get back to it. One of the things that I really admire from you is that you're consistently online. Like every time that I open up LinkedIn, I see you talking. Every time that on Instagram, you're like working out, you're showing your life in South America. You're talking about NAS. You're talking about your experience, right? It's super consistent, you know? One of those things, talking about that, is I want to hear about this last year. What are your wins? What have you noticed? I know that you've had some major mind shifts in this last year and that the results have just been phenomenal. So I want to hear about your wins, what was working before and is working better now, what, you know, mistakes and things like that. But more than anything, this momentum that you have going, what do we need to do in order to see those types of results?
Well, you mentioned the word consistency. Consistency is the name of the game. right? And you can look at people like Matt LeCave. He's the #1 lead generator in Australia. He claims to be #6 in the world. He posts 2 times a day, 7 days a week on LinkedIn, but you don't need to get to that level. Consistency means just showing up as much as possible. But I think once you start getting some results, then you recognize that the effort is worth it. And so therefore, you're more willing to put in the time that it takes to show up. And so consistency in and of itself is good, but it's about pulling the different levers, right? Because when we talk about consistency, is it consistency about what? Is it consistency about posting? Is it consistent about just being honest with yourself? I think it's kind of a combination of all of those factors. And so for me, I've been posting daily on LinkedIn Monday through Friday. I did take off this past week on vacation for the holidays, got to come to the US to see my family. But I'm really rejoicing in this experience with you to kind of showcase the importance of meeting people in person, because we do live in this online world. Now, as far as NAS is concerned, I've been at the company for over a year now. I've been able to support the multiple businesses that NAS has. So everybody knows NAS Daily, the organic content arm of the company, viral videos. My official title is creative producer, but I've been asked to support the entire business. So NAS.io, their mobile platform that's infused with AI to help, which actually was helping creators initially build their community, but now it's more focused on individuals, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs who want to build businesses online. So going from idea to revenue, I've supported the NAS Summit business, live conferences, live events. NAS House, not so much. The hotel in Dubai, haven't supported that much. And then, of course, 1000 Media, the social media agency within NAS Company. So I've really got to see the full gamut. And what I've enjoyed most is in this function or role that I have as business development, where I'm fielding inbound emails, inbound requests to collaborate in some capacity with NAS, right? Whether it's through a video hosted by Nusire himself, a YouTube mid-roll, or some other kind of collaboration on online or offline. And so I've had this opportunity to speak with founders about how they approach their business. And that's what I've really enjoyed the most, is getting into conversation with people on a daily basis. In my prior corporate life, it was always the same set of stakeholders. But now, on a daily basis, I get to speak to new people. And that, to me, has been the revolution of speaking to people is the name of the game to find success in life.
Where are you finding success right now? Right, because we're talking about your job in NAS Company, right? Mm-hmm. That you've been moving up the ladder and finding success. But we've also talked about you working as a solopreneur, or us working together with different projects. What does the future look like? Right? Is there a ceiling that you're going to hit at NAS? Is there more other projects out there that you want to work on? Because in the beginning, before NAS, that you were working at NAS, we were talking about how do we build a career online as individuals, right? How does that look like? What is your vision for the next year, 5 years?
Well, as we wrap up 2025, artificial intelligence, AI is still like the buzzword. We're actually getting ready to launch the final NAS Daily video towards the end of the year. So I'll leave that message for those viewers when that video comes out very shortly. But I would say that AI is upon us, that AI basically allows us as individual contributors, solopreneurs, etc., to have as much staff as you need, ultimately. You no longer need to hire people when you can leverage the LLMs, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or others, getting into agentic AI, which I'm by no means an expert on. But ultimately, I think what's going to be the big shift in 2026 and going forward is that people are going to be able to go into business for themselves, right? And so even at NAS Company, Nusire, the founder and CEO of NAS, he basically pushes this notion that you should be working for yourself at the end of the day. And I think that's what's really going to happen. We've seen all these layoffs in corporate, and a lot of those people are ill prepared to find meaningful work outside of a corporate setting, outside of a formal team setting.
You really hit it on the button, right? Because that was our experience, right? You were working for a big corporation that ultimately laid you off. I was working for a national company that did the same, and I felt like even though I performed well, I was still expendable, right? I am sitting, getting laid off, right? This is how the whole thing started for you and for me. We got laid off. I'm midlife. I feel like this should be my highest earning potential. This should be me 20, 25 years into my career established, right? And I find myself expendable. So what do? Do I go back and find another job where I'm just another employee that could potentially be laid off? Or I feel like I pay for my life with the hours that I spend away from my family, right? Do I continue to do that, right? So I thought I got to find a way to make a living that I can control, right? That I can control my hours, that I can control my income, that I can control my quality of life, right? And that's great. But on the other side of the coin too, if I don't make any money, it's because of me. The wonderful sounds of LA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Live and direct from downtown LA.
Right? Yeah, yeah. So it's scary and exciting at the same time. It's scary and exciting. I'm a capable human being. And I think that as I am starting to be more and more free of, 9 to 5, I find that there's so many people out there that have all these talents that they just don't transfer over into a more digital career or, really a side hustle, right? There's people out there there's young people out there that I'm meeting all the time. I'm at ASU right now. I'm taking another degree for digital audiences and technical communications, a second degree, technical communications for social media management. And I'm meeting all these young adults, right, in their late teens, early 20s, that are phenomenal video editors, that are really good at coming up with ideas for content, that have these skills that they don't realize transfer over into the real world and making income from it, right? And so I feel like
It's close.
yeah. There it is. And I feel like I still have all these skills that I'm not leveraging in order to make more income online.
Well, I think it's about finding the right platform for yourself. And obviously, everybody's very familiar with YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X potentially, obviously Instagram. But I would recommend LinkedIn.
Your success, that's where it's coming from. LinkedIn,
I would say
right?
LinkedIn is still one of the key platforms where you're going to be able to generate opportunities for yourself.
Why do people still dismiss LinkedIn?
Well, the thing is, LinkedIn, I think historically speaking, has always been viewed as the online place where you get a job.
Like
and in
Indeed.
fact, I'll tell you that the genesis of where the idea to start really pumping out content on LinkedIn, which didn't even happen when we did the LinkedIn challenge.
Right.
At NAS Daily, we actually interviewed Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn.
Oh, I saw
probably
that
back
video.
in September.
Yeah.
And prior to doing the video, Nusair interviewed Reid Hoffman to kind of prep him for the video shoot itself. And they were just chit-chatting, but it was caught on camera. And I got to see a behind-the-scenes look at this interview. And Reid talked about how the platform is going to go from 1.2 billion users to 2 billion users over the X number of years in the future. And I was like, wow. And it's constantly stated that only 1% of the users actively post on LinkedIn. By active, meaning one time a week. So if you can start posting multiple times in a week, you automatically shoot right to the top and you become a top content producer. Everybody there is consuming content, whether they're in the cubicle, whether they're out walking the dog, in the metro, wherever, they're consuming content, they're not creating content. And so the key difference between a follower on LinkedIn versus, say, TikTok, Instagram, or other platforms is the value of that person, meaning that the average user base on LinkedIn is a professional, whether it's a manager, a director, or more senior
decision
VP,
makers,
CEO, right? Decision makers with budget. And if you can identify a problem that they have and you can come up with a solution that you can convey will solve their problem, they are more than willing to pull out their wallet and buy from you. So that to me is the key driver of why I'm so focused on LinkedIn, which is why I'm really not producing video content on other platforms as much. And you don't even have to do video on LinkedIn. You can do literally text-based posts, text with photos, and have a tremendous amount of success.
Is that what you've been finding a lot of success doing that? Because I know you were almost 100% video there for probably a year and a half
I still
before?
do video, and video certainly has its place. And in fact, video format for LinkedIn is going to continue to rise and become more important. But you have things beyond text and photos. You've got carousels and infographics as well. So really, you're able to convey a lot of information in a format that allows people to read and not have to watch video. Because a lot of the challenges of people watching video
if
is
you're
that
sitting in your desk.
If you're at work, you really can't have the video going on. You're like watching it. So you want to be able to, either read the captions or just read the text. Like you're almost reading an article, or you're doing your job in essence, right? And so that's really the key benefit, I think, of LinkedIn, is that you're able to convey a deep message in a long form post that you simply can't do on TikTok or Facebook or YouTube or other platforms.
Yeah. People still think of it like Indeed, right?
Yes.
People still think of it like a job board.
And that's precisely why the reach that you can have on LinkedIn is so powerful still. I mean, it was like, if you think back to how TikTok was during the pandemic, that was the opportunity to really gain a lot of followers on TikTok. And prior to that, it was Instagram several years back. And so now you're hard pressed to find another platform that's going to give you the value that it does with so many followers that are willing to pay for your services. I think that's the key notion here for our audience today is, if you're contemplating creating content online and you haven't really started creating content, start with LinkedIn. You can do video, you can repurpose it, you can post it to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. One video, post it across the platforms and see where it resonates. And pursue that.
So that's probably what we're going to do right here, right? I think that we do this podcast in order to get hot takes. And we post the long format podcast. But out of this video, we're probably going to get, what, half a dozen hot takes at least, right?
And what is a hot take, just for the audience if they don't know?
Just 30 seconds to 60 minutes worth of a video that is going to capture people's attention, convey a message, and possibly have them interested in watching more of you. Right, and you could do that as a. I think everybody thinks content creator as an influencer, right? But if you are in whatever type of business, plumbing, law, accounting, right? If you can be online and capture people's attention so that they're willing to watch more videos of you, maybe they don't need a plumber today, but I guarantee you that in 6 months from now, when their tub is leaking, they're going to automatically think of you, right? All because of a hot take, right?
That's precisely right. And I think that's really the notion here, is that even myself, I've been creating content really since 2022, where I took the Creator Accelerator program, and then fast forward to doing UGC content, user-generated content on Fiverr and for other clients, etc. Ultimately, I found a way to make money online, but it wasn't really until I started to get into the inner workings of LinkedIn did I realize just how much opportunity is truly there on LinkedIn.
So what is driving you right now? The LinkedIn challenge. I felt like the LinkedIn challenge was really, really good, but rather than showing you how to have success on LinkedIn, I felt like they were showing us the mechanics of LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
Where was your turning point from looking at it that way to a big revenue source or a lead source? What made that change? What made that turn? And where are you finding success now? And where do you see that success going here in the future?
Well, I'm not sure there was one particular light bulb moment per se. I mean, I think the Reid Hoffman interview was sort of that catalyst to recognize there is opportunity on LinkedIn. I have been listening to the lead gen guy, Matt LeCave from Australia.
Oh, you took a course with him.
I paid for the course with him. I didn't really get through the entire course because it was almost like putting the cart before the horse. I didn't yet know what to do, and he's got so much free value, but you really have to dissect it. You really have to disseminate what is the key message, right? So basically, I recognize with him, I mean, he's a guy doing $3.5 million a year on LinkedIn. No paid ads. Strictly posting content in a very prolific fashion. He's very casual. He's not necessarily the most eloquent or academic speaker by any means, but he's a guy that's found a lot of success because his business is teaching others how to generate leads. And I think it's a very powerful service, but in many ways, that is his business, right? But there are other businesses. So for example, any B2B business, if you are in, say, real estate, right? And you're looking to, sell houses or sell other types of services, there are other individuals. So a contractor could see your content and say, wow, I bet this guy Danny, who's selling these houses, has a need for my contracting services. So that person could ultimately send you a DM, even though you might not have been thinking about that person when you created your content. You just say, hey, I'm Danny. I live in the LA area. I'm doing real estate. I like to focus on these type of houses, these type of neighborhoods, these cities in California, et cetera. And your message is going to resonate with a particular set of individuals on LinkedIn. And they can contact you directly, which is beautiful, And now, could that happen on Instagram? Absolutely. But is it as likely to happen on Instagram? I would say no. On Facebook, maybe. But I'm telling you, LinkedIn is a place where people show up to do business. It's a very professional kind of experience. Whereas on TikTok, you get a whole wide variety. As you mentioned, like you get dancing videos, you get comedic entertainment. But by and large, for the most part, LinkedIn is professional. You can take it personal. People post a lot of personal pictures and things of that nature. That's really why I'm here to kind of continue to harp on this message that I think LinkedIn is for everybody a massive opportunity because it's only going to continue to grow. And I've really enjoyed it. And I'm not even sure I answered your question entirely, but I would say that by taking these courses, watching these podcasts, reading some books, I've really learned at just how to pull all these different levers, and then taking a methodical and consistent approach, you do find success in rather short order, to be honest.
What does success look like in the next 12, 24, 36 months?
Well, I just signed up for a course with Richard Moore. He's got this course called Art of Sell. And that's actually a self-directed online course, but he also offers, more direct working with him. And so for me, I'm really focused in on high ticket services. So for me, a high ticket is anywhere from say 5 to 20K per month with a client, where I'm basically helping them bring their digital marketing efforts online. Because a lot of B2B businesses, they are successful in what they do, but it doesn't necessarily translate to how they show up online, right? So these businesses have their clients, but how are they contacting their clients? How are they bringing in new leads? Are they doing traditional media? Are they doing TV? Are they doing radio? Or are they doing guerrilla marketing with flyers in the neighborhood? Or are they hitting the phones, cold calling? Or are they showing up online, whether that's organic media or paid media? And the thing is, with organic content, you can really do very well just with organic content. But that being said, not everybody that's a successful business person knows how to show up online. And that's really, I think, the key skill set for our audience today is to understand, well, how can I help this business show up online better?
And that's where you're going here. That's where you're going, you think, in the next 12, 24, 36 months. Are you going to go freelance? Are you going to build a business? I know that we've talked about working together on some of these projects.
Right.
But what does that look like here coming up in the future?
So I think success for me really comes down to getting a handful of clients that I can manage while I'm still working at NAS, right? Basically providing services to them, which means recalibrating how they show up on LinkedIn. In many cases, clients, they don't know how to use LinkedIn, or the content they post on LinkedIn is not even targeted to the right audience, right? So they're prolific in their content. A CEO reached out to me on 2 different occasions. Due to scheduling issues, we didn't ultimately have the meeting, but I did a deep dive in the CEO's content of what he's posting about on LinkedIn. And to be honest, he was getting very little engagement, even though he was prolific in his content, doing videos, doing text, photos, carousels, infographics, podcasts,
Yeah. You
doing
mentioned that.
all of this stuff. Yet he was getting very little traction with his LinkedIn posts. And the reason why is because he's speaking to the wrong audience. He's not speaking directly to his clients. And so if you're a busy person, you think about it. If you see content, you swipe. You swipe because either the hook's not good or it's just not relevant to your needs or relevant to your likes and interests. Swipe away. So all the effort that went into producing that content is for naught, right? And so that's ultimately what it comes down to is identifying who your ICP is, your ideal customer profile, and understanding what their pain point is, and then speaking to that on a consistent basis and addressing those pain points, and that is how you lock them in.
That is a super great point, right? So when we took the challenge with NAS, when you turned me on to Gary Vee, day trading attention, some of the classes that I've taken at ASU that are directly related to content creation, to social media, they all start with ICP. Right. And I think that a lot of people out there don't think about their ideal customer profile. I think that they start making content for the masses. Right. And you think the more people that I reach, the better. But I think that by actually doing that, you're not talking to anybody at all. In NAS, in Gary Vee's book, in these classes that I'm taking at Arizona State University, one of the things that they talk about is going as specific as possible in order to reach more people and to have better success selling or growing your business online. And I think that a lot of people, when they talk about wanting to do more content online, they start with the concept or they start with an idea, but they're not talking to a specific audience, right? Like this person that you're talking about, we spoke that he was talking to people that didn't have the means to buy his product, his services, or that weren't decision makers, right? And he wasn't talking to the right people at the right levels of companies in order to be successful. And I think before anything that you start creating, rather than spinning your wheels, you need to come up with your ideal customer profile. Something that is not just males from 18 to 35, right? But people that are very, very specific. Homeowners that have two-car garage, age between 35 and 45, making $75,000 to $125,000 a year. Right? Like that specific, or even more specific. That plus they have kids in their teenage years and they're getting ready to send them to college, whatever it might be. But the more specific you are, the more success you have. Because when you talk to that specific of a person, when they see your content, when they see your video, they're going to go, he's talking to me. Right?
Exactly. And that's really the key point here is that, and you can pivot. You can pivot ultimately. I think the key notion is, you need to experiment first, start putting out some content, and see what resonates, right? It's like success leaves clues. And so you want to do part 2, right? So you want to review your analytics. Because if you look at your posts that you do on any social media platform, some's going to do better than others. So repeat the kind of content that resonates with your audience. It may be content that surprises you. It may not even be your favorite piece of content. But ultimately, you have to ask yourself, am I producing content for myself? Am I a hobbyist? Is this just my personal Instagram page? Or are you trying to build a clientele? If it's in the first camp, if it's just a hobbyist, you're free to do whatever you want. But ultimately, if you have visions of creating a business and creating revenue online, which is what this show is all about, I think the notion here is, well, create content that's going to resonate with your audience. And that does mean tweaking and experimenting along the way. That being said, I think it's very important to understand this notion of prospecting, which is what we've kind of talked about, where you're getting into conversations, whether it's in person or online. And LinkedIn, again, is another great tool to get into conversations online, directly in the DMs, right? But then once you get into those conversations, you really want to start qualifying people. Is this person someone that is interested in my services? Yes. And do they have the means to pay? Because if they don't have the means to pay, ultimately, they're not a qualified lead. And so you really shouldn't be spending time until they're ready to purchase your services. And granted, you can have multiple offers. You don't have to have just one big offer. In fact, it's probably better to have a couple of offers ultimately. A big offer and a small
And you could
offer.
also have multiple ICPs,
Yes,
right? You
right.
can have as many ICPs as you want, and that ideal customer profile might lead to multiple sources of leads as well.
Right, and so I'm still early in my journey. I don't have an email distribution list, so that's kind of one of my key goals for this upcoming year. Is I want to have my own email newsletter, text-based only. None of this super duper jazzy design. No, keep it super simple. Don't over inundate your audience there, the subscribers that is. I want to have a landing page. I want to have a lead magnet, and just very clearly exemplify what my offer is. And so right now I'm starting off with just like a LinkedIn clarity document, if you will, right? So it's very easy for me to like look at a person's LinkedIn profile, analyze their content, looking at their posting frequency, and looking at their overall engagement to say, this person is either on the right path or this person's on the wrong path. And how do they get back onto the right path? And then leveraging AI, you can really detail out all the next steps they need to do, and you can charge for that. Because the thing is, what I've learned from Richard Moore is that it's really about diagnosing someone's symptoms. You want to understand why they're feeling the way they feel. So for example, the person's ultimate goal may be to sell more, right? And the person we were talking about, the CEO, he's prolific in his content. He's doing all the right things as far as the mechanics. He understands how to do a text-based post, a video, infographic, etc. But he's not taking a step back and understanding my content's not resonating. Why is it not resonating? Because again, he's speaking to the wrong audience. So his symptom isn't that he's speaking to the wrong audience. His symptom is, I feel like no one pays attention to me. And the reason why he feels like that is because he's talking to the wrong audience. So you want to basically speak to him in his language and say, hey, look, I understand you're prolific in your content, but let me ask you something. Are you getting DMs from the clients you want to engage with? And if the answer is no, then you have your answer.
Well, and going back to the point you were making, right? He's talking to people that don't need his services and don't have the means to pay.
Right.
So, like,
and
of course you're not going to get
simple. It
right.
sounds simple,
Yeah.
but honestly, it's actually something that you recognize when you really start getting into LinkedIn is just this notion of pattern recognition, right? You can kind of very easily size someone up in the good sense. Like, okay, you understand where they're at in their journey, and then you can find ways that you can provide a service or a value to them, because ultimately, no one needs to be the deepest of gurus to create income online. And in fact, oftentimes people will reach out to lesser experienced, lesser knowledgeable people because they feel like they're more accessible, not as expensive. If you want to work directly with Matt LeCave, well, he'll work with you, but you're going to pay a very hefty price. And rightfully so. The guy is an expert on lead generation on LinkedIn, but he's not the only guy on LinkedIn.
If you want to work with Antonio Lasso.
Right. So yeah, my services are certainly available, right? As are yours. So looking ahead, we're running a little bit short on time here. What are some of your goals for 2026, Danny? As far as what are you leaving the audience with as to where you see yourself in the next 3 to 6 months, and maybe some tips for the audience?
So, you know what I want to do is I want to have more free time. I want to have more free time. I've been trying to transition into a more digital career, something that is more flexible, and I feel like my plate is full. Right, I go to Arizona State University. I have, I do a little work on real estate. I do a little work in I have a contractor's license. I get clients online. Uber and Lyft kind of help, fill in the gaps as well. But my time is taken up, right? I have a 9-year-old daughter. I have a 9-month-old son. I have friends that I want to spend more time with. My traveling has been paused, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that I know the mechanics. I know what to do. I know how to get leads. I know how to close leads. I know how to make those sales. And it's just a matter of being consistent, right? And my next question was going to be like, where do you want to take Digital Pathfinders? Where do you want to take our, our partnership, our business relationship? What do you see here in the future coming up that our audience could expect?
Well, I think, again, you've mentioned consistency, and I'm not sure what for you is the biggest detractor from being consistent. Because I think that when you are consistent, it could just be, getting more likes and more engagement on your content, getting that dopamine hit ultimately.
Right.
But I think for me, defining success, at least in the next 3 to 6 months, is definitely closing a couple big ticket clients. I would love to have 2 or 3 clients that I can support on a monthly basis, pay me $10,000 a month. Like in the next 3 to 6 months, I believe that's very feasible. And if I do that, that's really going to free up my free time where I could potentially even step away from NAS Company and focus on that.
Don't say that too loud because you might get fired. No,
But focus on that full time, allow me to really work remotely anywhere in the world. That's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for total freedom. I have a remote job now, but I still have a lot of work to get done. So whether I'm working from Europe, working from South America, or working from Asia, it's still a lot of time. But you'll see that for the highest value work that you can do for others, it's not full-time work. You could literally do $10,000 of consulting for a client on LinkedIn and maybe spend 5 hours a week on it. Doing an hour call with the client, analyzing what they're doing, structuring your support for them. And 5 hours a week, that's 20 hours a month to make $10,000 a month.
And the value that you're providing is $10,000 worth of value.
Well, if you think about it, if a person is able to use your services, right, and they're able to increase the amount of inbound leads, we're talking about inbound marketing, right? They basically go from having 0 presence on LinkedIn to posting 3 times a week, and in the course of 3 months, they go from no inbound leads to, say, 6 months, they're getting 10 inbound leads a month. If they close one of those leads in a month, 10 leads a month, and they close one per month, you've already given them their ROI, right? You've showed them the path. And ultimately, these are clients that you don't have to support on an ongoing basis for more than 3 or 6 months, maybe 9 months, maybe 12 months to the max. At the end of the day, you're showing them how to fish, right? This is not about just giving them a fish on a month in, month out basis. No, this is really showing them the ropes, how to do it, and then you can get referrals, you can get other business, you can build a case study, you get a testimonial out of them, and then from there, it snowballs. That's really what I've learned in studying all these gurus on LinkedIn. It's how it works. You can start off by doing free work, moving into paid work, and then just sort of move up the food chain of higher value clients. And then the time and commitment goes down, and you can serve a larger base. And then going back to your question about how we can work together, well, I can tell you this. Like once you start serving and working with the client, you start to peel back that onion as far as what are their needs. And then once you understand their needs, then you can kind of come up with different solutions, different offers that you didn't even know that they needed, but by understanding the client so well, you reach into your mind, use your second brain on AI and say, hey, look, I've been working with this client X for the past 3 to 6 months. We've been really cooking. He's happy. He's getting inbound leads. But when I spoke with him last week, he mentioned this other problem. And you leverage AI. AI explains to you what are some offers that you can come up with. Then you go back into conversation with that person and boom, another revenue stream right there.
Right. Have you read that book, The One Thing?
I was actually looking for it. There's this bookstore in Denver called Second and Charles. And I found the book I'm reading now, which is Fanatical Prospecting. But I was looking for that book. That's a book that Courtney Johnson talks about. Do you have it with you?
Sure, I can.
Nice. Well, she talks about the need not to niche, but ultimately, I'm a big believer in this, sort of the one thing. If you can kind of get to that one thing that you're good at, that you're going to be able to solve a lot of issues for not only just that client, but other clients, because you basically have become like the guru in this one thing. And then from there, you build, right? It's not, you're not staying stuck in one place, right? It's just about like being known for one thing. In fact, I watched a recent podcast with Laura Acosta and Courtney Johnson, and in this podcast episode, they kind of had differing points of view. Or Lara Acosta's like, yes, you should certainly start with one thing. You should really focus your niche, right? You can build on after that. Where Courtney Johnson's perspective is, well, you are the niche. And so therefore, you don't have to focus on one thing. You focus on you being you, and that's going to attract people that, enjoy your content, enjoy your perspective, enjoy your point of view.
Well, I think one of the reasons that I really like this book, and I'm going through it again, I'm reading it again, is because I have multiple sources of income. Not one of them is large enough to support me altogether, but altogether, I make a living here in California. It's super expensive to live here, but I'm making it happen, right? And I think that with consistency, I'm always working on something, but the consistency aspect of it is that I'm not consistently working on that one thing. And that one thing that I want to grow in this next year is I want to help people, businesses, grow their income streams, right? I know how to develop businesses. I know how to make businesses grow and set up systems that support people so that this happens without them spending 60 hours a week working on it, right? But the one thing that I want to work on is being able to build that business and that clientele where I'm helping them do that. And I want to do that online because just like you, I want to have to work less time and I want to have time to travel, time to live other places, right? I want my kids to be international citizens, right? I that's more than that's one of the things that I want to teach my kids, that there's more to the world than what they know.
I was listening to this podcast featuring Matt LeCave, and he talks about, I think the secret he said is, be successful offline so you can be successful online, right? And I think that's what this is about, is that a lot of people, as he says, chase sort of the sexy industry. They chase the founders, they chase the tech startups. And he says that many of them, although resourceful, they have no funds to pay you. Whereas if you can find wealthy individuals, people that have cash, stacks of cash, and are willing to part ways because they see you as a person that can bring a solution to them, it may not be the sexiest of industries. In fact, you mentioned some of your prior experience as director of operations. What kind of industry was it?
Janitorial.
Janitorial services. Is it sexy? No, it's not. But you know what is sexy? Is when they are stacking cash paid to the order of Danny Ramirez. That is very sexy, right? And so that's what you really want to focus in on, is you want to prospect and you want to qualify and understand, is this ICP someone that my message resonates with him or her? We understand each other, and they've chosen me to solve this solution. And once you have that conversation, it's like carte blanche. They write you the check. Obviously, you have to deliver the services,
right?
But then it's like this repeatable process. It's this rinse and repeat. And so that's what I've seen. That's been my year of growth this past year, is just how easy it can be to make money online. But it's really about studying, learning new skills. I mean, I'm talking about LinkedIn when I had previously taken the LinkedIn challenge, but didn't really understand it. And the thing is, it's all about taking action. You can read so much, you can study so much, but until you jump feet first into the pool, you don't know how to swim, right? And so that's what it's really about, is taking action. I think for you, taking action would be very, very helpful to get you in that right momentum for being consistent, right? Just by the challenge model is great, right? For the next 30 days in January, I'm going to post a post on LinkedIn. It can be a text-based post. It can be a text and text and photo. It can be a video, carousel, you name it. I would challenge you. The gauntlet has been drawn that Danny Ramirez is going to post a daily post on LinkedIn in the month of January.
Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday is fine. Report back in February. Let's have another podcast episode in February. And let's see where you're at. Let's put my money where my mouth is. And I guarantee you're going to be getting into conversations. I can't guarantee you're going to have a $10,000 closing, right? But I can guarantee, by knowing you, the fact that you're very affable, you're great with people, that you're going to ultimately be in conversations, in DMs with people that are going to be contemplating and considering your services. And I think that's the easiest way is to test the waters, is just by showing up, being consistent, and putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. I'll take you up on that challenge. And there's when I first started this journey, I thought, these people are posting every day, sometimes multiple times a day, 7 days a week. I'm going to run out of things to talk about. I'm going to run out of things to talk about. But the more that I take up more room in this space, I realize that the ideas are all there. It's just a matter of execution.
Well, I think it's not about so many ideas. I think it's about choosing content pillars, 3 or 4 different or similar ideas, but you just go deep in those particular spaces. So for you, maybe it's real estate, maybe it's digital marketing, maybe it's X, Y, or Z, but just continue to, drill down on those particular topics. And then again, you can do different formats and repeat the format that has been the most successful for you, mix and match different format types on the same topic. You're going to get a ton of content out of this podcast, and just post it. Don't worry about the cringe. The cringe, it comes and goes.
Yeah.
Right? But at the end of the day, we're still so early in this content creation journey, right? You've got all of these OGs. You've got the Gary V's. You've got Casey Neistat, Nusarier Sin, Mr. Beast, and others. The Paul brothers, right? Logan and Jake Paul. But there's still room for the masses. And in fact, on LinkedIn, if you get 1 million followers on LinkedIn, you're like a massive creator. That's actually one thing I wanted to talk about here is you don't need thousands upon thousands of followers or connections on LinkedIn to be successful. What you need to do is you need to follow up with your audience that you do have, right? Service the people who already follow you. And you only need like 500 people, maybe 1,000. And if you're not there yet, well, build to that critical mass. But you don't need to have 1 million followers to get started, is my key message here.
Well, a lot of the videos NAS Daily has been putting out, the NAS Company, have been talking about that you need 0 followers in order to get traction. And NAS.io, I have a community on there that I'm starting, talks about now with the paid ads that you can do through NAS.io, that you need 0 followers in order to start getting some traction, in order to start getting some sales out there. So I am really excited to see where that goes, because like now they're adding actual people that will help you build the structure of your community, and their services have expanded into having the production of AI videos for individuals that are on the platform as well.
Yeah, NAS.io is a great platform. And I work at the company, NAS Company, and I should be, I think, further into my own NAS.io journey. Personally, I'm really big on LinkedIn, so I do need to take a second look at NAS.io. So, Nusai, if you're listening, I will be on NAS.io in 2026. But ultimately, though,
we have a Digital Pathfinders NAS.io.
Well, let's create some content. Let's create some offers. Let's create some digital products, right? We can do an online workshop. We can do a challenge, whether it's getting your LinkedIn set up, whether it's creating content for the very first time.
Finding your ICP.
Right, finding your ICP. For example, I have this new gig I'm putting up on Fiverr is called LinkedIn Clarity. How are you showing up on LinkedIn? What are you doing? What are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? That's a service I offer. You pay me, and I will give you a report on what your LinkedIn should look like. What it looks like now, it's like an audit almost, and what you should be doing to get to the final destination.
How much are you charging for this?
It's going to be a premium package for Fiverr, but this is probably going to be $300 to $500 one-time payment for like a 5-page report.
And then if they want to hire you for more work?
That's certainly a possibility. Absolutely.
Yeah. What's the biggest mistakes? Where are people lacking in LinkedIn when you look at their profile?
Well, we already talked about speaking to the wrong audience, but I think another one is really about positioning. I spoke recently with a person that he's in the real estate business now, but he has a lot of prior experience in TV and media and sports. And so this individual in particular, he was trying to cover all 3 of those in his content because he felt like those were interests to him that he really enjoys, and he wants to basically use those interests as sort of common interests amongst his followers to draw them in to buy real estate. And I think that's not the right approach. That's not the approach I recommended to him. I said, look, it's great that you got TV and media experience. It's great that you love basketball. The Miami Heat are Messi with MLS, etc. But ultimately, people that are looking to buy real estate, they are looking at content related to real estate. They're not looking at Lionel Messi's content. Like no matter how much you break down his content, even if you do a feature on Lionel Messi's house, that's a multi-million-dollar property. The average person, even if it's upscale, a person buying $1 million home, a $5 million home, is not buying the home that Lionel Messi can buy, right? So the idea here is focus in on your ICP and speak to that person so that you're positioning. Well, again, this kind of goes back to the one thing, right? Be the real estate guy first, and then once you really have that locked down, then you can start speckling in other interests, right? About, oh, this is Lionel Messi's house in Miami. It costs X. You give a tour, you do a podcast interview, not even with Messi himself, but someone on his team, his real estate agent, something of that nature, kind of behind the scenes look, right? But you have to kind of tie it in neatly. It's not just like, oh yeah, let's just watch Lionel Messi career highlights. That's not going to tie into a person looking to buy a home in Miami.
Right.
That's my point.
No, yeah. A lot of opportunity out there, and I think for any businessman, any solopreneur, any entrepreneur, anybody building a new company, founders, I think that there's so much opportunity out there, and I think that a lot of people are barely scratching the surface on this online thing, right? We felt like we were stuck in the 9-to-5 job. I think that we both felt underappreciated. I definitely felt like my full skill set was not being leveraged, and because of that, I was just so unfulfilled in my job. They treated me very well. I made good money and had the whole compensation package, right? But I want to, at the end of this whole thing, right? At the end, when I'm in my deathbed, I don't want to feel like I left opportunity on the table.
Well, in 2025, as we look into 2026, you have all the tools that you need, whether it's online social media platforms, AI, et cetera. There really is no excuse. Now, granted, you can find a lot of success at someone else's organization, whether that's me at NAS Company or you with Gabriel or whoever else you're working with. But ultimately, why not make an effort to build something for yourself? And that's really my mantra for 2026 is I want to build my own business so that I can call all the shots. I can take off the time I want to take off. I can travel. I can pursue the things I want to do. I can pursue the clients I want to work with and be happy in the process.
On an adjacent point, I want to talk to the audience out there. A lot of the people that I'm talking to are really scared about AI. They think that jobs are going to go away. They talk to me about Waymo taking over for drivers. We hear about the layoffs that are happening all over corporate America, all over the corporate world, because companies need less people out there, right? And I think that the idea that jobs are just going to disappear is founded in fear. I think that jobs are definitely changing. I think that the nature of work has already changed in the last 20 years. And I think that a lot of people out there have the tools, but are ill-prepared to use them in order to transition to this new world that we're looking at, right? I think a lot of people, when the internet came online in the late 90s, the way that it did, weren't prepared. And then you saw social media just change the landscape of how we advertise and do business. And now with AI coming in, I think that these 3 times we've had the same exact conversation. We're afraid as a society that our jobs are at jeopardy, that we're not going to be able to thrive in our industry. And I think that things are changing. And I think that what we've been talking about, transitioning from working in a building, working for a company, is really, really an important conversation that we need to have in a realistic way so that people can understand how to continue to thrive in their careers, how to build a business, how to have the income and flexibility that they want to live the type of life that they're dreaming of right now, right? And a lot of the times, that's not going to happen 9 to 5, sitting behind a desk or swinging a hammer. It might, but I think that those types of careers, those types of jobs are really, really changing, but not for the people that know how to leverage the internet, social media, AI.
Yeah, I think for the most people that have never experienced AI, you'd be surprised at how many people still haven't used ChatGPT. Going back to the example of this person in real estate, and prior experience through TV, media, et cetera. He doesn't use ChatGPT or AI at all. He writes all of his posts on LinkedIn, starting with a blank slate. Clean page on Google Docs or Microsoft Word, whatever it is he uses. And the time and effort that it takes him to write those posts, which is commendable. I think writing is a good skill to build, but you cannot ignore how AI can rapidly increase your output. And so that's, I would think, the key message here to our audience is if you're not using AI tools today, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's others, there's so many out there, right? You need to get started ASAP because, again, as the saying goes, AI is not going to replace your job. The person who knows how to use AI is going to replace your job. And that's really the key message here is get started today and make it happen.
Two things that I've been using lately. I've been using Sora to create music, and you really simple prompt, and it brings up all of these cool beats and song lyrics and puts it all together for you in a way that is just absolutely phenomenal. Anybody can use Sora for free. I would encourage you to go out there and just give it a one-line prompt as to what type of music you want to, the genre, and what you want the song to be about, and watch what happens. I think it's super, super fun, not very intimidating. The other thing is, I'm constantly talking to ChatGPT. When we were coming over here, I pulled up ChatGPT and I go, hey, what's the podcast studio address? And because I've been having all these conversations with it, it just knew where we were at and where to go. I go, hey, find me a place. We had lunch earlier at a phenomenal taco shop, Guisado, downtown LA. Oh, and literally, I was driving on the way to pick you up in LAX, and I go, hey, can you find me a restaurant that is 5 stars or better on Yelp and Google with more than $2,000 or 2,000 reviews, right? And it near between LAX and the podcast studio. And that's how I found Guisado, right? Wow. And because it already knew that I was going to pick you up in LAX, and it already had the address here, and I gave it a super, super simple prompt, and this place was phenomenal. Right. I'm having all these conversations with it. And I go, hey, I looked down at my phone a couple of times because I had a conversation with ChatGPT. I go, hey, give me some talking points, give me some bullet points that I can cover today with Antonio. And it already knew we were going to do a podcast. It already knew this whole relationship that we've had for the last year and a half, and it gave me talking points that were relevant because you've been talking a lot about the things that I've been talking to ChatGPT about, and it's just super, super helpful. Super, super helpful.
Well, this has been a fantastic episode, and I think we need to bring it to a wrap. Our time's almost up here at the studio, this beautiful studio here in LA.
Oh, sorry.
And I think we've had a great time. Looking very forward to this edit, and that's what's ahead for our listeners.
I think that we're going to continue working together, doing these podcasts. I think that people can expect us to continue talking about the new cutting edge things that are coming out for people that want to transition into working online. And really, I think that you're going to hear us talking about more leads that we get for people that want to expand their business online, and actual clients that we're going to be working on. I know that we've worked on a couple of clients together in the past, but I think that the focus for 2026 is higher ticket items, higher volume of leads, and more
closing.
people, right? And more people that are actually paying for these types of services for us.
They're out there. So let's wrap it up here, Danny. And it's been fabulous in this fantastic studio here in downtown LA, where famous people have sat in these seats where we are, and maybe we'll be those famous people down the road.
Right. And we'll, I just so enjoyed hanging out with you in real life, right? Right?
Capital IRL.
Right. It's been great, man. Super exciting to see what comes down the road. Awesome. And doing this some more.